Hello and welcome to Nightchild Reviews. In this video, to celebrate the new Turbine Media release of the Sign of the Times concert movie, we are going to discuss not only the superb treatment of the classic film afforded by Turbine, but we will also be looking at both the genius of the performance itself and indeed the incomparable and lasting impact this lightning conductor of virtuoso creation deserves to have on the music world and beyond. There is so much to take in and explore, and so many elements to this remarkable movie and this superb presentation by Turbine Media. It is almost hard to know where to begin, but let us dive into the world of the greatest concert movie ever made and take us to a time when in France a skinny man died of a big disease with a little name. First things first, and we will now take a look at how Turbine Media have crafted together this impressive, multifaceted package. It is also worth noting that there was an original run of 3,000 and a further 2,000 with a differing design, but they are virtually sold out. Demand is through the roof, and I only hope people get to experience this great package. And very quickly before we begin, I would like to say a huge thank you to Turbine Media, and in particular Callum Waddell, for reasons I will address shortly. I never dreamed I would have a mention in the credits of this project, and I'm beyond flattered, truly, to receive them. But I am unfairly flattered, as the true credit, as always, belongs to a number of others whom I shall credit shortly. Please also notice that this is a German-based release, but presents few barriers to being enjoyed by a wider audience. Details of the compatibility of the discs will be discussed here in this video. Straight off the bat, when you see this exciting edition, the very first thing that hits you harder than a housequake drumbeat is just how sumptuously, luxuriously gorgeous this package is. The initial heartbeat skipping moment is provided by the incredibly talented Martin Hommant, known by many as Red Fox Bandit. Martin, as many will know, is an artist who Prince appreciated deeply later in his career, using Martin's iconic designs not only for the album covers for Hit and Run Phase 1 and 2, the Baltimore Project and concerts, Prince's Twitter account, but also as backdrops for his concerts. And let us be clear, I personally think that this could be Martin's greatest moment, a superbly crafted painting which captures in one powerful image the electricity, tension and edgy moodiness of the Sign of the Times era. It is, quite simply, exquisite, frameable artwork worthy of this stellar movie. The package comes in an LP-shaped and sized folder, which opens up to display a booklet, a set of card photographs, 2 DVDs, and a set of matching Blu-ray discs, and a poster. And that's just for starters. The folder itself is a sturdy, carefully designed and considered item, with a track list of the concert on the reverse side, along with a description of all of the many contents. Let's dive into those contents. Firstly, there is a wonderful LP-sized 16-page colour booklet. The cover is a stunning photograph of Prince in Sign of the Times era mode. The booklet is written symmetrically in both English and German and kicks off with a foreword by the legendary Dr. Funkenberry, who Prince embraced as a conduit to connect his work with the online world. An intriguing interview detailing some of his time and experiences with Prince is available on funktopia.com, and it's always a good idea to check out his Dr. Funk podcasts. Following Dr. Funkenberry's often humorous foreword, Edgar Kruize takes us on a journey of the ups and downs, twists and turns, and last-minute dramas of the era. Scarily enough, the final remaining audio cables were connected the moment the lights went down for the opening of the show. Edgar Kruize is someone I've wanted to thank for years, but I couldn't, as I didn't know who this mystery man was. The editor-in-chief of PrinceVault.com. I owe him and everyone who works with him a huge debt of thanks and gratitude. Their forensic, dedicated, passionate, detailed, extensive and enormous website chronicles every facet of every known Prince track, project, album, tour and much more. It is not to overplay it to say that not only is it the true biblical encyclopedia of the Prince world, but without it, many of us would simply be lost in a large room with no light. Edgar also authored the book Prince, The Dutch Experience, detailing Prince's time in the Netherlands, including filming for this project, and he also hosts a Prince blog at purplepix.net. Edgar provides, as you would expect, a fascinating and succinct summation of the events that combined into creating this film, from the unexpected call received by assistant engineer Gert de Bron one morning whilst he was on holiday, telling him he had until 8 p.m. that night to get this done, to Sheila's concise and memorable reflection: "You are in the eye of the hurricane, and the rest just happens around you." Edgar deftly details the tightness of the newly formed band, the dedication and the sheer unprecedented speed at which Prince impelled things to happen. The booklet also includes a wonderful spread of photographs of tickets from the original tour, including the now famous instruction: wear something peach and black. The package also includes a set of 5 black and white photographs printed on glossy cards which capture Prince, Katt and Sheila. These are A4 sized and add a nice extra to the package. They could be framed or displayed, and there's a great one of Prince smiling and lowering his mirrored sunglasses. The poster is the original promotional image for the film and is around A1 size, absolutely ideal for framing, and brings back a feel for that era. It's another nice addition to this package and gives you a permanent image for this amazing experience. Now onto the DVDs and Blu-rays. The first thing to note here is, even here thought has clearly been placed into how they are displayed in their peach for the DVDs and black for the Blu-rays. And when you remove the discs, there are a number of symbols behind the discs relating to the symbolic concept of the album. The DVDs, those that are coloured peach, are region free and should work on any DVD or Blu-ray player. However, the Blu-ray discs are region 2 for Europe, although only the film itself is marked as region B. The second aspect to note is just how much material there is on these discs. The Blu-rays are duplicates of the DVDs, and they contain not only the film itself, which we will get to, but also a promotional trailer for the movie from the time, boldly declaring that if you only go to one concert this year, the Prince movie, as they call it, is the one. Secondly, there is a teaser trailer, 30th anniversary, which works well to whet the appetite. There is also a full concert-length commentary option by the superb Peach and Black podcast, which I will discuss in a moment. Then there is a huge documentary which comprised a 1-hour 42 presentation entitled Prince, the Peach and Black Times, featuring a number of people who work with Prince to create this masterpiece, which I will shortly discuss. And, if that wasn't enough, a further 3 full hours of extended interviews which contain a large number of fascinating insights and on and off stage insights, many of which I have never heard before. Phew, it really has a lot going on. Let's dive right into those discs. In terms of picture quality, the Blu-ray is presented in 1080 Full HD, with the DVD being a 16:9 anamorphic NTSC. And I have to say that it has never looked better. There's a real filmic quality to it, and an element of film graininess that actually makes you feel very much more like you are there in person. The concert is clearly lighter in places than I've seen before, allowing you to notice many more details and sharper focus. The intricacies of the stage design, the car frontage, the neon signs, and even more noticeably, the band members set further back in the stage are so much more visible and differentiated. It's a joy to watch something that you've seen so many times and to notice new aspects to it and appreciate it in a new, fresh way. The package has 2 sound options, either a Dolby Atmos 5.1 or an Aura 32 11.1. In simple terms, my advice would be to try both and see what you prefer. The different options provide you with a varying range of bassy notes and full sound, both in crystal clear clarity. Indeed, the sound of these discs are a real highlight. The audio on the accompanying documentary and bonus interviews, as you would imagine, is pin sharp, and you feel very much like being in the room with the interviewee. A really great job by Turbine here, captured it perfectly. The Peach and Black podcast, for me, is an absolute standout on the expanded package. Peach and Black have for over 10 years been the absolute gold standard of Prince broadcasting, with their intelligent, intricate, passionate, knowledgeable and often hilarious exposition and analysis of all of Prince's unrivalled canon of works. It speaks volumes that Prince himself invited the guys to meet him later in his career, and there was no greater tribute than that. Watching the entire movie with overlaying commentary from player, toe jam, MC and captain was genuinely like hiring out a movie theatre and watching the film with 4 of your very best friends. The spontaneous appreciation of the film, the musical knowledge of Prince and the band's work, the attention to detail truly made me see things in the film that I had never seen in over 30 years. For example, the way the lights by the awesome Leroy Bennett coordinated with the suit Prince chose to wear, which was actually inspired by the lights themselves originally. is a true testament to the extraordinary level of attention to detail that Prince put into this and all projects. The reoccurring heart and peace motifs, the little nods and winks, the interplay between Prince and Katt, down to the earrings and accessory Prince and Katt wore to complement each other, and the band themselves, perfecting every kick, every drum placement, every hand gesture. Nothing is by accident. Everything is considered and intended. I have it on good authority that the Peach and Black guys recorded the commentary in just one take, and that just shows you one of the many reasons you need to subscribe to their free podcast now. Seek them out on Google and say hi. You'll make friends for life. To the Peach and Black guys, I just want to say firstly, thank you for your remarkable decade at the very apex of Prince appreciation. And secondly, you absolutely knocked this one out of the park. For a podcast that derives its very name from the track, You Got the Look, I can think of no one more fitting and deserving of this recognition than these amazing guys. One of the major selling points of this Sign of the Times Turbine set is the inclusion of the documentary entitled Prince, The Peach and Black Times. The Turbine Group and all involved here have done a fascinating job putting together interviews from a number of people who are involved in the project from both a performance, technical and production viewpoint. There were some great interviews intertwined with clips from the concert and photographs from the time, which include the following guests. Katt Glover, the iconic Katt. Can you think of the Sign of the Times and Lovesexy era without thinking about Katt? Katt is fascinating here as she chronicles not only the enormous amount of rehearsal and physical limit pushing to bring this show together, but it's also revealing just how integral Katt was in forming the choreography of this concert, resulting in musicians having to master their music while spinning around or holding one leg in the air whilst bouncing across the stage. Katt comes across as funny and also incredibly appreciative of all the people involved in creating and assembling the stage construction and the remarkable lighting rigs. It's also great hearing in the bonus interviews Katt discussed working with Sheena Easton and only being able to get Sheena to flick her hair and use her seductive eyes as dance moves. Dr. Fink appears and is intriguing to hear his views as someone who's very much part of the Revolution era in a time when Prince was decidedly moving in a wholly new direction with a new band and image. It was intriguing to hear Dr. Fink actually volunteer to play the Madhouse set, who served as the opener for Prince, and then perform the whole Sign of the Times show, followed by after shows and extended Prince performances until dawn, only to catch a few hours sleep and then do it all over again. Dr. Fink talks of the strict penalties for turning up late for rehearsal. I learned not to do that, comments Fink wryly. Levi Sacer played bass on the tour, despite being primarily a guitar player, but still managed to create one of the most standout solos of the tour. Levi comes across as a very humble, very thankful, likeable guy with enormous talent. Levi also mentions Prince's demands to learn 2 to 3 new songs and be ready the next day to perform them spotlessly and perfectly. Levi sums up the tour when he says that he remained in mind-boggling mode for a while and it hadn't even hit him that the tour had never made it to the US, something he truly wishes people could have seen. Levi also relays the story of how Prince reacted if you left the house wearing everyday clothes whilst being a member of his band. Susan Rogers has always been a truly leading Prince historian, as well as, of course, being his primary recording engineer for a shockingly creative and legendary time in Prince's career up until 1987. Professor Rogers is utterly fascinating in her exposition of how she pulled together the myriad strands of recording technical issues at breakneck speed, whilst working for possibly the most artistically demanding artist of all time. The sheer can-do, no-problem insurmountable tenacity of Susan Rogers is remarkable, and her ability to coordinate just what Prince desired made her one of the few people ever to keep up with Prince. Susan also brings a real emotional depth to this documentary when discussing how after the breakup with his long-term girlfriend Susanna Melvoin and the end of the revolution, it was hard to see Prince act so joyously in the tour when potentially experiencing so much sadness inside. Leroy Bennett, Prince's legendary production and lighting designer and husband of Brenda Bennett of Vanity and Apollonia 6, was truly one of the most interesting interviews regarding stage design and lighting I've ever heard, and he seemed to be an incredibly driven, outside-of-the-box original thinker. The Sign of the Times tour and movie will forever be synonymous with his effects, those huge swinging light pods that are almost from another world, those liquid nitrogen smoke flares, this extraordinary way Leroy would tailor the lights so sensitively to the particular mood of the track. Leroy quite simply made the movie look the way it did, and he deserves huge praise. There are also some simply amazing interviews from Gert de Braun, who in a long and impressive career has never experienced the intensity of the time he was on holiday and received a call saying that he was to put the sound together for Prince's concert that night at 8 p.m. It was also touching to hear him describe spending a few minutes in the arena, soaking up the atmosphere and becoming so mesmerised that he almost forgot to return to Susan Rogers for his next engineering task. Steve Purcell, who is the film editor, also provides a number of insights into Prince's work, from the meanings behind a number of his dance moves and how they all represented intriguing subplots, or the way Prince would call from his car and would be able to visualise the cuts needed in the movie to split-second accuracy, despite only hearing the audio, knowing what band member to cut or what angle to use. Michael Hugenbosen, who was the sound engineer for the film, states quite openly, "I was not a huge Prince fan. Then I heard the opening of the set of Sign of the Times, and I just felt goosebumps." Michael also describes the challenge of filtering 50 plus tracks into the 24-track recording facility they use, and the dilemmas displaced on Susan Rogers. David Rusin was Prince's go-to guitar guy. The Peach Cloud was his creation and has been iconic ever since. The stunning tone it produces, the vibrancy, the wailing scream, its flailing intensity, all combine to create Prince's unique sound. Dave discusses the sheer battering the guitars received and how many got broken, nearly as often as the neon lights that Leroy Bennett had to transport, and how Prince could easily switch to being a director of the show, and how he could spot those guitars made later by other people. Finally, there is Edgar Kruize, who also appears in the documentary, and alongside being an author, journalist, blogger and editor of Prince Vault, is clearly a huge Prince admirer and articulates the era, the power of a band playing live with such incredible precision and dexterity, and also the Dutch love affair with Prince and those flaming lighters that Prince loved and incorporated. Edgar also discusses why the You Got the Look video seems a strange decision to include as a dream sequence in the middle of the film, and so much more. All in all, this is an impressive documentary that really stands as a great testament to this movie, and I think it's a real accompaniment that would justly stake its claim to be the ultimate appreciation of the greatest concert movie of all time. This is without even mentioning the 3 hours, yes, I said 3 hours of bonus interviews. These are great as they allow the interviewees to describe their career and journey that led them to be working with Prince, and then to detail in more depth their time together. I have barely scratched the surface with the interviews here. I haven't mentioned Katt being frozen by the liquid nitrogen or getting her hair trapped on the rotating heart bed, the accident that took out Bonnie Boyer's keyboard and was the last straw for Prince on tour, the huge complications in refilming so much footage at Paisley Park, and Prince lip-syncing to vocals that he hadn't even recorded yet, but knowing how he would perform them later. There is even the story of how Katt suffered an injury just before the tour began and how she became the creator of Prince's iconic denim jacket. There is so much great detail and love for this project here, and a huge thanks to Turbine for their simply exquisite job. Truly a project that will stand the test of time and become the final word on this concert. Well, certainly for now. And now, before we run through those amazing tracks on this concert, I just want to address an important point. Originally, there was an issue that arose as the details of the documentary began to appear. The issue was, to put it into a somewhat truncated synopsis, that despite this being one of Prince's blackest bands, there was a lack of representation from the Black Prince alumni. It actually became one of those situations where a wide range of people made very relevant, pertinent and important points. The Prince podcast created a video regarding the issue. Scott Woods also reminded us why he is one of the most important voices in the Prince community and beyond. Dr. Callum Waddell of Turbine had clearly put a huge amount of effort into the documentary, and it was important that as many voices pertaining to this era were heard as possible. Obviously, budgets played a part, and in the Prince community, we have our contacts that we can tap. My part was small, and I have been over-flattered by the inclusion of my name in the credits, which was a big surprise to me when asked. I want to now give full credit to those voices who engaged in the discussion, from the Prince podcast and the author Scott Woods. I would also like to thank those who helped me out at very short notice to be able to get messages to as many of Prince's band members as possible. I may not know these talented individuals personally, but I do know the people who do know. I particularly want to thank Mr. Ant's World of Prince channel, the Awesome Peace and Love channel, the Violet Reality, Michael Dean and Darlene Nisi from the much respected Muse to the Pharaoh podcast for their extraordinary help. Dr. Callum Waddell and Naomi Howell listened to the concerns of the community, and as a result achieved an even better documentary with a number of additional, representative and important voices. We all gained from the discussion, and it's an issue that goes well beyond the Prince community. No one is claiming we changed the world here, but because of the efforts of all these people, we took a few steps towards making projects such as these more reflective and accurate historical documents of the time. I owe every one of you deeply, and it showed the Prince community at its very best in working together to impact this project. Now let's take a little look at the tracks that make up this funky night in Uptown. It's truly going to be a beautiful night. There are two aspects that really hit you about the Sign of the Times concert from the very beginning. Firstly, just what a seismic shift this set of concerts were from the stripped down minimalist parade tour, which by contrast incorporated a much more simple set design and concept. The parade tour was all about bright light, unbridled joy and yellow suits. Compare this to just how dark and gritty this concert is. Prince in his full-length leather coat, the intricate stage design that sees a whole city landscape in the background. Neon lights declare an almost seedy world of lust and urban garishness, and a myriad of levels, platforms, stairs, heart-shaped beds, car fronts, industrial steel cages, and incessant choreographed action from every band member at every moment. The second aspect that sets this film apart is the sheer thought that went into every detail, including the teasing vignettes of story which can easily be overlooked but are actually key to the concert storyline. The opening sequence shows a drum roll infused standoff between Katt and Brooks as Katt demands love and talking while Brooks sees sex and money. Prince appears, ominous, in the wings, spotting his chance to enter the fray. Throughout the film, every song forwards a narrative, whether it be the seduction of slow love, the honest declaration of I could never take the place of your man, or the woundingly open if I was your girlfriend. There is commitment in Forever in My Life, followed immediately by lust in the song It. Every nod, sideways glance, flirtation is part of the story, all of the way until the final party time of It's Gonna Be a Beautiful Night and the purity and transcendence of the cross, a song that is a universal anthem of hope for better times and salvation from this world's pain. Oh yeah! The pulsating strobe of Sign of the Times has to be one of the most stunning openings to any concert ever held. Prince appears from the dark ether like a prophet from a dystopian future, questioning the society that he sees around him, decaying, nonsensical and self-injurious. Here the live version injects the already seminal studio version with a true bolt of adrenaline through Prince's growling and heavy guitar work, which at times seems to almost overcome and possess him. The part where Prince's band, all carrying drums, come pounding into view like a well-oiled military musical troupe is heart-stoppingly dramatic, and an incredibly cool way to introduce this extraordinary group of musicians. Never mind turning the lights up to 10, Prince and the band turn the energy levels up to a frenetic, frantic 11 as they explode out of the gate for an unmatched, rousing, unimaginably energetic rendition of this often overlooked powerhouse roller coaster of a track. The hilarious and X-rated short back and forth between Prince and Katt leads into a blistering volley burst of drums from the sheer force of nature that is Sheila E. It's pure, pounding, exhilarating, pulse-quickening and hilarious, with Prince pulling faces, teasing and toying with a frenzied crowd. After such a dark and ominous beginning, Prince and his band lift the lid of the set and the golden light of sunshine beams down into every corner. Yet another sign of the tremendous amount of thought that went into this concert. I adore the slowed down Katt-led vocals that calm us out of the track and into the next. One of only 2 songs on the film, if you don't count a few musical motifs such as the super funky-califragisexy interpolation, that were not from the album, Prince slows the pace and allows the band to take a breath while he embraces the piano. The energy from just Prince and the keys is electric, and the whole crowd is singing along in seconds. This is a powered version of a track he reinterpreted many different times in varying ways, and it has never sounded crisper, more vibrant and connecting. Is there anything more iconic than those pounding, centre-of-the-earth, bass-toned drum thuds that boom into your chest as this masterpiece announces itself? Shut up already! Damn! Prince is on fire, dancing like he's never danced before. Splits, spins, dropping to the floor whilst delivering. Well, you all know that dance move. What do we call it? It's just beyond words. I love the way Katt looks at him, almost to say, what is happening right now? Sheila E., Eric Leeds and Atlanta Bliss have never sounded better. The sheer attention to every second of detail, every hand gesture, every turn of the heel, every backing vocal, all combines to make this a full-on funk extravaganza. Everybody shut up and listen to the band. Prince then smiles. He knows they've absolutely killed it. The house has quaked so much it has suffered structural damage. A real change of pace here as a sweat-soaked and sensuous Prince begins his seduction of Katt. Co-written by Carol Davis, this is another song that doesn't get enough praise, and here, with the absence of a door, it becomes the real seduction ballad. Prince works himself up into a shirt-pulling, open-chested lather, writhing on the floor and draping himself around the microphone stand. Atlanta Bliss here opens proceedings with a stylishly mournful horn line that has a real feeling of an earlier jazz era, whilst Prince ends the track by crescendoing and melting into a screaming, passionate protestation of his desire. Brooks and Wally begin this section with a classic retort. Check this, she wanted me to talk to her. For Prince, this is a track very much of two amazing parts. We begin with the distraught Katt, although not looking too distraught. Katt actually mentions this in her interview that she was too happy to cry, so an onion was cut up in front of her. Katt's man has run away, so she saunters over to check out this Prince guy in his orange suit, and after sizing him up, much to Prince's pleasure, check out Prince and Katt's expression here. They're hilarious. Prince makes it clear that whilst he may be qualified for a one-night stand, he could never take the place of her man. The second part of this track is simply purely exquisite. This has to be one of the most refined, glorious, sumptuous, assured and mesmeric guitar virtuoso performances ever captured on film. Like an extension of his soul, Prince toys the cloud guitar into life, purring and vibrating, expressing pure electric tension. The wailing sonic tone of the cloud is sublime. Prince steps onto a riser and is the centre of the world. I love the part that follows, which slowly and delicately builds up the tempo until the explosion erupts and the main riff returns with the lights flooding the arena and Prince signing off this epic track. The squelchy, harmonic full sound of Prince's organ here is simply luxurious, and I only wish it had been even longer. But Prince and Brooks have been distracted by what Brooks describes as a sweet sticky thing. Prince, in yet another nod to the forensic detail in which he approached this film, had a suit designed specifically to match Leroy Bennett's magical and futuristic multicoloured sphere lighting designs. Prince dancing here is almost part body popping, part robotics, part funk, all Prince. The move where he slides on his knees the length of the stage and rips Katt's skirt from beneath her in his teeth is the move that launched 1,000 GIFs, and indeed the interplay between Katt and Prince culminates in a superb climb to the apex of the stage and a parting thunderbolt. Prince's voice is seemingly filtered in some way, which gives it a slightly different feel to usual, and the backing vocals are as on point as ever. Time to tell them that you're going to the crystal ball. Tell him you're coming home late, if you're coming home at all. Prince leaves the stage, and it's time for the remarkable musicians in his band to shine, as they take on a much speeded up version of Charlie Parker's 1945 classic, Now's the Time. Miko is just a cool cat with fingers that blur as he struts the frets. Eric Leeds and Atlanta Bliss are legends for a reason. Their hornwork is the fabric over which this concert is thread. Levi Sasa almost steals the show with a unique bass solo for which he uses a pick and plays the bass like a normal guitar. It's also important to note the amount of times Levi's bass will permeate little sections and adjoining sequences, such as those involving Wally and Brooks. These bass runs are singular delights in their own right. Dr. Fink does what he does best, and it's easy to see why he was such an integral part of Prince's career, caressing the keys almost like a guitarist blazes through a fiery and sustained solo. This band is so good. Bonnie Boyer's vocal and keys input is first rate, and her performance in a few tracks' time simply superb. Then it's time for Sheila and her ricocheting, explosive, rolling thunder, Krakatoan drum solo, which culminates in her abandoning her drumsticks as they fly out of her hand and simply pounding the cymbals with her hands. Sheila is a world-class musician, and this is simply history in the making. Edgar Cruz is somewhat perplexed by the inclusion of this music video in the middle of the concert, while Steve Purcell sees it very much as the tradition of artists seeking to promote their latest works. Filmed in Paris for promotional video purposes, it really stands out from the rest of the film. Firstly, because it was filmed in 35mm and so therefore has a much more blurred, fleshy feel to it. And secondly, as it is part concert footage, part music video, part behind the scenes montage, all imagined within this film as a dream sequence Prince envisions. Sheena Easton plays the feisty love interest for Prince whilst Katt attempts to divert Prince's roaming eyes whilst being surrounded by a very crowded stage, giving the video an almost musical theatre type feel. Katt eventually manages to drag Prince from Sheena's gaze and grapples him to the top of the stage where the smoke effects, as Katt recalls, nearly manage to freeze her into position. The dream ends and Prince smiles. It is almost impossible to determine which version of this track is most remarkable. The album version with its reversed keyboards or this free-flowing treatment. Luckily we have both, so no need to decide. The scene begins with Katt asking, "Why does a wolf dress like a lamb?" and an innovative crane camera shot descends into Prince wearing his faux fur coat. The air of taut sexual tension and the longing, yearning, aching glances exchanged between Katt and Prince are intoxicating. Prince asks why can't he have that closeness that Katt has with her girlfriends? Why can't he be the one she run to if she was hurt, even if by him? Prince succeeds in his seduction and slowly teases Katt's gloves and clothes from her until finally, like a sexual offering, a huge metal heart-shaped bed rotates into view and Prince and Katt fall into their passionate climax. Pure erotic city. For me, this was a section of the concert that really sneaked up on me, and whilst the headline-grabbing tracks such as Housequake and Sign of the Times demanded your attention, it was this section that actually became a real highlight for me. With the entire band on stage seeming like they were having a genuinely joyous time, Prince brings out his acoustic guitar and finally realises that what he really wants is commitment and fidelity. Originally a quirk of fate, the backing vocals lead the lead vocals on this track, and the concert embraces this, with Prince responding to the chorus. After some more vignettes, including Brooks taunting Katt with two other women on his arm, Prince asks everyone to back off their mics and begin the chant for the song It. Suddenly we are transported instantly into the lustful, carnal desires of erotic abandon. Prince thinks about it all the time, because when we do it, girl, it's so divine. Prince descends into some truly gospel-like, soul-shuddering screams that have to be heard to be believed. A truly stunning performance. This is an all-out, no-holds-barred, pull-out-all-the-stops funk workout for this monster of a party. Originally the concert closer, but the penultimate track here, everybody is dressed in white with 1,001 things happening on the stage all at once. Everybody is off the charts with energy. Sheila E. raps while Prince takes her place at the drums. Katt sings and then destroys the stage with her power thrusts, nearly vibrating Wally to within an inch of his life. Prince's falsetto recording overlaid with his shouts out to the crowd give a real feeling of joyous celebration, like the end of some enormous Hollywood blockbuster. You get to see the Detroit crawl and so much more. It's just almost too much to take in, and the ending sees Prince simply scream "Confusion" and drop the lights. The crowd must be exhausted. It was clearly important to Prince that the concert ended on this hopeful, spiritual desire for better days to come. It is a track that has universal appeal and transcends religion in its longing for the desperate and broken to be lifted up and saved by a higher force. The track begins in a very subdued and quiet way, with Prince gently strumming alongside Sheila's spacious drum pounds, until it reaches a point where it just all goes off and explodes into 12th gear, with a full flood of white light bleaching the stage. Prince is instantly the rock god, fighting furiously with his roaring guitar and pushing his vocals in his normal register to their absolute max. Soon, all of our problems will be taken by the cross. The guitar embroiders the final part of the track with sublime elegance, and Prince signs off this concert on this message of hope. The concert then outros with a great instrumental version of Sign of the Times, and you're just left wondering, what is it you've just witnessed? Sign of the Times stands, as I believe, as one of the greatest concert films of all time, and indeed the attention to detail, the interplay and the vignettes give it a much more musical feel, a Broadway feel in some respects, than a traditional concert feel. This Turbine package is simply the ultimate statement regarding this movie that has been made to date, and it will be the Rosetta Stone in appreciating and understanding the tremendous amount of work, dedication, talent, creativity and passion undertaken by so many different people to bring this truly once-in-a-lifetime concert into being. To every person that played a part in this project at any point, I thank you deeply and unreservedly. This is Prince at his very best. Thank you.